Thank you very much for having me. Today I'm going to show you how I do a literature review. A lot of things have changed in the last few years, and I'll show you some software that has made literature review quite easy and enjoyable. And also, I'm going to show a way of using a reference manager so that it can help you cite while when you write your say introduction or discussion. So let us start. In the past, we used to use Google Scholar and PubMed and used to have this search strategy using keywords and all, but this is kind of a laborious process. You can still do it this way, but nowadays a lot of free tools are available that can make your life very easy. This is my sort of workflow which I use for literature review. You can take a screenshot of this image and try out these different tools available. Most of them are free to use, or some of them are paid with some limitation, but at least I am not paying for any of the software listed here except for GoodNotes that you see in the corner. So we have, say, about 20-25 minutes. So this is the research question I thought that I'll give you a live example of. I want to know what is the risk of progression of an OPLL in patients who get operated for myelopathy due to OPLL in two groups of patients, cervical laminoplasty versus cervical lami with fusion. So essentially, I want to know if cervical laminoplasty is better than cervical laminectomy with fusion for OPLL in terms of reoperation rates specifically due to progression of OPLL. So this is a very specific research question that you want to search literature on. So let's see how you do that. Most of you must have used ChatGPT, right? So this is how ChatGPT looks like. And then the first thing is we'll ask ChatGPT to formulate a research question for us. So I'll say, I want to know if cervical laminoplasty is better cervical laminectomy with fusion for OPLL in terms of reoperation rate for OPLL progression. So you want to be as specific as possible when you want to tell the information to ChatGPT. And I'll say, can you help me formulate a research question? That is the prompt that I'm giving ChatGPT. And let's see what it says. So it has given me a research question: is cervical laminoplasty associated with lower reoperation rates compared to cervical laminectomy with fusion in patients with OPLL due to OPLL progression? So it gives you a PICO framework very clearly. So I like this research question, so I'll keep it. If you are going to use Google Scholar and PubMed and all, and you want to know keywords that you want to search for, then you can put a follow-up question like, can you suggest me appropriate keywords for this question to search in Google Scholar? So let's see. So certainly, so it gives a list of keywords that you can use, and it also tells you that you can combine these keywords to create an effective search query in Google Scholar. So you can just copy paste these and put in Google Scholar and look up articles. Maybe I'll also ask ChatGPT to create like a review outline for me, right? This would be helpful for us to say write a discussion, or if you are going to write a paper, then so I'll say, okay, I have to write a comprehensive literature review on this topic. Can you write an outline for a literature review with a structure and potential themes? So it is important that to ChatGPT you give like certain prompts, because it is picking up these phrases, structure, and potential themes to give you a detailed answer. So here we go. So it gives me a title for the review, what I should include in the abstract, what should be included in the introduction, the background. You don't have to do it exactly the way it is telling you, but it just gives you thought process and some structure and some themes on which you can base your discussion or your paper on. So this is a good starting place, you may call it. Your imagination is the only limit. You can ask it any kind of language oriented question, and ChatGPT will make your life easy for you. So the next step that I will use this kind of information in a website like illicit.com. The purpose is to find one article that is going to be your keystone article. You can call it a seed paper. So A seed paper is one article which is the most appropriate article for this research question, which will lead you to other papers because they are cited and referenced and all those things. So this is elicit.com. I'm using the free version. It is enough for our purpose. So let's say it's saying ask a research question. We already have a research question in ChatGPT. Let's copy this research question. I like this better. And then I'll paste it here, right? And then I'll say go. What it does is that it will give you summary of the like top 4 papers. It is building it. So if you want a quick answer to this research question, you can read this. There are some references given here also. But what you want to see here is list of papers that are most relevant. And then here what you can do is sort through these papers in terms of most relevant. I like to go most recent because the most recent papers will have all the back citations that you will be able to trace on this particular topic. So you go to the most recent and then look at these papers. There's an abstract summary here. And if you want this tool to summarize the paper, you can add a column. So add a column of summary. Okay, here the summary is generated, and this is an AI generated summary. You can read this summary and decide which paper is the most appropriate for kind of your purpose. Let's see whether it is comparing between our research groups. Okay, outcomes following laminoplasty or laminectomy with fusion in patients with myelopathy caused by OPLL, a systematic review. So systematic review or meta-analysis is a good place to start as a seed paper because it systematically has reviewed papers in the past. So this is from 2016. It has 33 citations. Good paper to start with. You can also filter out these papers in terms of reviews, meta-analysis, and seed papers that are systematic review or meta-analysis would be sort of good. So I like this because this is a comparison. This is a systematic review. This is pretty recent. So I can select this, right? The summary of the paper is that available evidence from 4 comparative studies is not sufficient to determine whether laminoplasty or laminectomy fusion is superior. So, okay, let's start with this. Let's consider that this is our seed paper, right? So here through this also, if there is an open source software, you'll be able to directly go and see the PDF. So this is the paper here. I'll copy the DOI right here and then save it because I'm going to use this in our next tool. Oh, before we go to the next tool, we have to set up Zotero. So I have already downloaded. Zotero is our reference manager where all the citations are collected. So we will need this as we do literature search and collect appropriate papers, and we want to store them somewhere. So that somewhere is going to be here. This is how it looks like. This is my library here. This is a group library of Hinduja Spine where I can share these citations with my team members from my unit. But let's be here. So here you can create a collection, cervical laminoplasty OPLL collection. So where I'll collect all the papers that are related to this particular topic, add papers directly into this or search, but we are going to use other tools to populate this folder with papers that we like. There are different tools available here. You can search and all, but this is also the tool that we are going to use as citation manager. The other thing that you need with Zotero is a bookmarking sort of a extension tool in your browser. So this is a Safari browser. So in the new tab, let's say this is my Zotero extension. So let's say if I'm going to PubMed, I get any paper, search, let's say I got this paper. And if I want to store this paper, I can store this paper into Zotero directly using this. So save to Zotero. I can save this and I'll show you how it is done. So you need to set up this in your browser of choice. And to do your bibliography and citations, you'll need this tool. I use Zotero primarily because not only it is free, it can be used with Google Docs. And I like to write papers in Google Docs primarily because it can be shared with your team members. So let's say, or your team is writing the paper, you write the paper on Google Docs and Google Doc document can be shared with everyone. And the other reason to use Zotero is that all these AI tools that I'm going to show have sort of an integration with Zotero free of cost. So that's why it is very easy to use. So let's go to the next step, software called LitMap. It's basically a literature map. So I'll say create first lit map, and it is saying that, okay, search by title, keyword, or DOI. We already have the DOI of our seed paper, so I'll paste it here. and then search this. And that paper that we selected on illicit.com is going to come here. I'll click on it. Yeah, this is the paper. It was a systematic review, and I'll ask it to create a lit map. So the lit map is created this way. So you will get this paper references which papers in the past, and this paper is cited by which papers in the future when this paper was published. So as you go down, you go get more recent papers. As you go up, you get older papers. So this is 1981 Hirabayashi paper. And then this is 2016, which is our seed paper. And then as you move downwards, these are the more recent papers. As you go on this side, there are more citations. So the ones that appear here are more cited, and the ones that appear here are sort of less cited. So if you want the most relevant papers to your topic, you want to look in this sort of a quadrant, because those will be more recent papers, and those papers will also be the most cited papers. So you can go through this lit map and see which ones are kind of relevant to our research questions. So this was our seed papers, comparison of clinical outcomes between decompression and fusion, a meta-analysis. So maybe this one is good because it is related to a research question. So I'll click on this, and then I'll say, okay, I can read the abstract here. It seems relevant. So I'll say more like this. So this gets added to the lit map. So you see two papers have become gray. So then I'll again say which one, this MA 2018 seems to be relevant. So again, I'll say, okay, more like this. So now we have selected 4 or 5 papers in this into the lit map. I can click on update results, and again is going to see what are the articles that are most relevant to these 4 articles that I have selected and how they are connected. So it gives you an updated lit map with these 4 papers. So let's look at this and say, okay, add more like this. So whatever you feel is more relevant to your research question, this way, because of connections with your papers that you have selected, are getting added. And then you can say again, update results. So as you do this couple of times, you will have like a collection of papers that are most relevant to your topic. What I can do now is export this into Zotero. So let's say I am going to select these papers and I'm going to tag them cervical LAMI. Okay, done. Okay, so every paper I'll tag. Tag is just like creating a folder. I have created a folder that is cervical LAMI. So I'm tagging all of them. Then I'll go here. See, you can see here there is tags. So I click on cervical LAMI. You see 5 papers are selected here. Now I can select all of these 5 papers and I'll say export. Export this, all 5 articles. You can export in .bib format or any of this. I choose RIS format and I say download. It has gotten downloaded into my downloads folder, and that is it. So then the other tool, which is an optional tool for you to use, is connected papers. And we'll use the same DOI which we had used before. And connected papers is very similar to lit maps, but one different thing that it does is that it shows all prior work as well as derivative work. So all prior work to this map will be shown here. So let's say if I click on prior, it will show all the papers that are most commonly cited by the papers in the graph here. So you can sort them out by citations. You can see laminoplasty with laminectomy with fusion, independent cohort analysis, but this may not be just for OPLL, but still probably a relevant article. So let's say if you want this paper to be in your Zotero collection, then I'll click on this. It will take me to their website where this paper is. So I'll click on Zotero here and I'll say saving to my folder that I had created was cervical laminoplasty with OPLL, right? So I'll say, okay, save to this folder. I'll say done. Okay, so now this paper has gone into the Zotero folder. So the other thing I'll show you is derivative work. Derivative work means these papers cite many of the papers that are in that graph that's shown. That means that these are like, more recent relevant works that reference the papers that are in that graph. So you can use these also to look at it, whether you find relevant papers or not. So the next step that is more useful is Research Rabbit. It is a completely free software. The thing that I want to show you is that Research Rabbit is very powerful when it is combined with Zotero. So let's go back to Zotero. So these 2 papers we collected from connected.com. but we also want to take papers that we found from LitMap. So those are downloaded into that file. So I'm going to say file. I'll say continue. And this is that RIS file. I'll say open. Place imported collection in new. So this has copied into a new folder called Untitled. I'll just select these and put it in our original folder. So now we have all the papers here in our folder here on Zotero. Now we'll go back to Research Rabbit. So in Research Rabbit, because it is connected to Zotero, I can import a collection here. So I'll say import Zotero collection. Okay, which collection I want to sync, it is asking, which is obviously this one. So I'll say start sync, and it is asking me to give a name to this collection, which again will be cervical laminoplasty OPLL collection. Okay. These are our papers that we got from those other two websites. Now from this, you can start getting more papers. Let's say we'll start with our seed paper here. So if you click on it, it will show you this paper. It can also download the paper for you. Wherever you see this green icon with down, that means the original paper is available free of cost. But what is more important is this here. You can see all papers that are similar to these papers. So it will show you similar work to this paper like this. And then you can look at the map like this and then select papers. You can see all the papers that this paper references, or all the papers that this papers is cited by. So you can look at the older references, like say this is 1988. It really, we don't want the very old papers. So we'll go to all citations. What are the further work done on this? Meta-analysis of prospective studies comparing laminoplasty fusion for, okay, this might be relevant. So I'll say add to cervical laminoplasty and OPLL. So when I click this, it gets added to that collection. So that way you can keep going back and forth and searching for articles that are related to this. The more articles you collect, the more relevant papers it is going to search for you. It works like how Netflix recommends movies for you to see based on what your watch history is. So the papers that you are going to read or collect and put them in the folders accordingly. And it is so easy because this is getting synced with that Zotero collection there. Any paper that you want to like put a comment on, you can say, I want to look this up specifically. Certain things that you just think about while doing the research you want to write down, you can write down there. So this is now stored and syncing with Zotero. You can see that you go back, you will find that all the papers you collected, that Fellings paper we collected recently, it has appeared here. So that's what this does. As you do more and more, you will populate this collection. Now, once you have done this, obviously you want to go through these papers. So this Zotero tool is very useful to download the PDF as well. For example, this article you want to download, you can right click this and say find available PDF. So if PDF is available on the internet, then it is going to find it and link it. So, but there are some papers where you may not have full text. There it will just say that it didn't find any, that you will have to find a different way of getting the full text for. To this Zotero, if I click here, I'll be able to see the full text article. I can read it here itself. There are annotation tools here. I can underline, I can write a comment, read this later, or whatever thing you want to write here. That way it gets stored. You can also read the PDF in a different location as well. I like to read the PDFs on my iPad because it feels more like paper. So many times, whichever papers I want to read, I will transfer them into GoodNotes. I have GoodNotes that is there on my laptop that is synced with my iPad. So if the paper I transfer here, it automatically comes to my iPad, and then using the Apple Pencil, I can highlight, write, scribble on it, and read and put my thoughts here. So this feels more natural to me instead of printing out the paper. And but there is another way of reading these papers or going through these papers very quickly. So we'll use Google Chrome this time because it works best with Google Chrome. So there is Chrome extension called SciSpace. So there is a Chrome extension available here. So you can download this Chrome extension and then you can use it. You can do what it says, do hours worth of reading in minutes. So let's say we want to ask a question to that PDF. So let's go to that PDF. I have to click on PDF show file. This is the file. I'll put that file on my Google Chrome here. I'll put it here and then upload it. So now this file is uploaded on SciSpace and it is using Copilot. It's not using ChatGPT, but doesn't really matter. You want a summary of this paper. So generate summary of this paper, results and conclusion. It is already giving me a prompt here. So here is the summary of this paper: introduction, material methods, result, myelopathy, neck pain. So you can screen papers this way very, very quickly. And obviously there are many different questions you can ask this ChatGPT. What were the results of the paper? What were the conclusion? Explain the abstract of this paper. So if you think about the question you want to ask, you can even write what are the limitations of this paper, right? Let's see what it says. Okay, it's giving me a very long list of limitations. Some of it is picking up from here, some of it is using artificial intelligence, but you will have to decide whether it is relevant or not. Chrome tool also will help you for, like, say you are on spine journal, then if you click on this tool here, it will say chat literature review. It will look at this web page and what is the purpose of this web page, summarize the contents, what are the key, it is going to summarize this kind of abstract for you. You can do a fair bit of work through the Chrome extension as well. But most of the time I use SciSpace to upload a PDF and then make a very quick read of it using artificial intelligence. So that is that. Last part I want to show you, how do you use this information? You have completed your literature review and you have started writing your paper. Let's go to Google Docs. Let's say this is the paper you are writing. So what I did here is that ChatGPT had generated that general outline. I had pasted it here. So this is like a place for you to start if you want to start it that way. If you don't want it, you can start with a blank page. But let's say you have written this particular sentence and this sentence requires a citation and this sentence is cited from one of the papers in your collection. So you want to put that citation here. So how do you do that? Google Docs, you will see Zotero appearing here. Automatically it appears here because you have this extension that is installed in your browsers. Okay, so it will take you to your Zotero and it will bring this search box. This citation is from this Mehdi article. So I'll put Mehdi here and then Mehdi paper will come here and I'll say, okay, I'll select it and then I'll say enter. So it will put that citation into that place where you see that one number has appeared. That is because it has assigned citation number 1 to Mehdi. This is kind of complicated. I'll create another Google document. Let's say I create a blank Google document. So I want to cite here. So I'll take the first one. I'll put at the back of the full stop here, go to Zotero, add citation, and then I'll select American Medical Association. That's the usual way. Say I want this article here. I want Mars article also. Okay, so 2 articles I have put. I press enter and then you can see it has 1 and 2 written here. So let's say I'll put another citation here, add citation, and then put Heller. Let's say I put Heller, enter. So the 3S. So now one quick way to generate bibliography is to go to this and say add bibliography. So the moment you do this, it is going to pull these citations from your Zotero and put it into your Google Docs. So you see automatically this citation list has been generated, right? So this you can write references, right? And then automatically they are generated. You can edit them also. Let's say later on you realize that you have made a mistake. There should not be 1 and 2 here. There should be just 1 here. So I'll click on that. I'll say edit with Zotero. It will take me back to Zotero and I'll say, okay, there are 2 articles here. I want to just have 1. I'll press enter. That one has gone. So automatically it has renumbered them. 2 is gone. Third becomes 2 and the references have become 2 because you have removed 1 reference. So this can save you a lot of time doing this, and I recommend that you do this real time as you are writing the paper, because you are writing the paper or writing the discussion from certain references. Like say you're building up your argument and you are taking that argument from some place and you are adding something new from your study. So that argument that you are making, you are taking it from other papers that you need to reference. So while writing that paper only, immediately reference it. And if you have this kind of a workflow, then you can do it much better and faster without going back and forth between kind of different papers. So this would be if you use this kind of a workflow, your paper will be created in no time. So that is about it. I'll stop here and then we'll take questions. Thank you very much.